My story takes place a long time ago when I was a teenager, when I was visiting my grandparents in Ireland for the summer. So I went to this dance with my cousin Martina, and we were supposed to go home together, but she hooked up with this guy. And so she trucked me off into this car, this Ford Escort with like 8 or 9 people in it, because petrol was really expensive in Ireland at the time. So people like drove in the trunk of the car and everything. So anyway, the driver leaves me off at the Plantain Cross, which is like on the main road. And it's like the crossroad to get into my grandparents, which is like a mile away from my grandparents' farm. So I'm wearing my like Gloria Vanderbilt shiny disco jeans and my purple suede candy. So I'm like, oh, Jesus. So anyway, about a year before my dad had died, and he died of a heart attack in front of me, and I was having like serious anxiety problems. So I was like a little bit nervous. But like in Ireland, when it's like a full moon, it's like really amazing. You can see the hills for miles and shooting stars and leprechauns running all over the place. But this night, it was like a little sliver and the clouds kept covering the moon, so it was as dark as the womb. But so I'm like trucking along this little country road in my candies, and I get to the old mill, which is about at the halfway point. And then I'm going into this part where there's like trees overgrown in the lane and you can't see anything. And it's dark as shit. And then the cloud goes over the moon. So it's like I am in the womb in there. So, and then I'm going into this, halfway through that section, there's this well where my great-great-grandmother, Maud Brady, died. She drowned in the 1800s. And people say that that little area is haunted. So apparently she drowned, but the real story for my grandfather was that before she got married, she had this boyfriend, and they had raised a crown. I don't know how much that is, but it was like enough to get 2 people to England to start a new life. But then my great-great-grandfather, Michael Brady, who apparently was a real jerk, had this big land to farm and wanted to marry her, so her parents were like, you're marrying him. So anyway, it was a really bad marriage and she hated him. But her boyfriend, Pather McEnroe, came back from England and they met at the old mill. And apparently her husband found out they were meeting. And there was a big fight and they fought all the way over to this well. And apparently she got knocked in the head and fell down and died. And her husband like threw her in the well, so everybody would think she drowned. And then Pather McEnroe was made to go back to England and nobody ever talked about it again. So this is my lovely family. We have anxiety and murder in the family. It's so much fun. So anyway, this place was haunted. So I get to this place and I'm hearing this like sound. And like my anxiety is getting higher and higher. And I'm like, oh my God. And it was like, and I'm like, oh my God, Maud, I'm your great-great-granddaughter. Don't do that. And then she started nipping me in the ass on my Gloria Vanderbilt jeans. And like I'm running and I'm screaming like a banshee. And then she catches up to me and like I'm hitting her and I felt a beard. And I'm like, what the hell? Is there some part of the story they didn't tell me about Maud? So I'm like running and running. I don't know how I made it out of this dense tree thing. And then the clouds lifted and I saw a little sliver of moon. And I saw the window to my grandparents' house. And I'm screaming and I can see them coming out. And Maud is still following me, nipping me on the ass. And it turned out to be a goat, and they didn't even have a goat. And I thought maybe it was a ghost goat, and Maud had turned into a ghost goat. So I'm like running and screaming, and my grandparents are like, they're older, and they're like trying to run to me. And my grandfather's like, Jesus, you bloody agent, get in the house, get in the house. So like I fell and I get there and like, there's like a big rip in my Gloria Vanderbilt disco jeans. I was so sad. And blood and like rips from the nips of my ass and I have like tree in my hair and scrape on my face. And my grandmother's like, oh, Jesus, child, what in the hell happened to you? I thought there was a banshee announcing a death of someone. So it turns out the goat, this neighbor, Desi Kyo, had brought this goat over that day in his car because they had to get rid of it. So my grandmother takes me into the kitchen, and my grandfather's cursing up a storm, but he goes to bed, and she calms me down and cleans up my cuts and gives me some tea. And, you know, I totally calmed down, and it was like, usually when I had anxiety or panic attacks, it took me days to get over it, but I got over it that night because my grandma knew how to calm me down because I inherited this from my grandfather, and she knew how to calm him down. And, you know, over the years, I've had so many roads of anxiety, but because of that incident and her, I knew how to, like, calm myself down and bring myself back to a calmer place because I had her genes in me, too. Thank you.